should say, in the Middle East over these past several months. What can you tell us about that area in which these strikes have unfolded?
Of any kind of radiological leakage, which you have to be concerned about. But in Isfahan and Natanz, those are closer to population centers. But what our military does is goes through a very sophisticated process of determining, the chances of collateral damage or damage or harm or death of innocents. And the munitions that you use are tailored to not only accomplishing the objective of the strike, but also minimizing civilian casualties.
Retired General Master, thank you so much for giving us that insight. We do appreciate it so much. Thanks for being with us.
Great to be with you.
Hello. Well, it is the middle of the night here, but we have already had some, the restrictions have been being released slowly. People have been allowed to go back to work. There was a sense that perhaps this situation was kind of loosening up. And then the other day, they do regular check-ins. The other day, the regulation
to get about possible casualties, perhaps people who were working in that area, because I understand that this the areas that were hit were pretty good.
deputy security official from Isfahan that he's confirmed to us that these attacks on these 3 sites did take place, but we don't know the severity of them. We don't know the impact of them. So that will be some information gathering that happens probably over the next 24 hours.
Haley, we appreciate you. Thanks so much for being with us. We want to take you back right now to the BBC for more.
Have to wait till morning. If there's a death that came out in the last hour, he started then saying destroyed material has been moved out of these sites already. So if Donald Trump or the U.S. administration was thinking that this is lulling Iranians into complicity, it seems that they were expecting this, despite the 2 weeks talk of 2 weeks diplomacy. They seem to have thought that any minute an attack could happen in Fordow, so therefore they're claiming they have taken all nuclear material out of there, and they've then added activity from these sites that could jeopardize
mean, of course, we'll hear from President Trump in about 50.
For the Iranian regime to not, the government in Iran to decide not to retaliate, that's unclear. It's still very humiliating moment for them, but it is very important that after a week of Israeli attacks, the public in Iran wants this to end. Hundreds of civilians have been killed by Israel. Israel has killed families, entire families have been wiped out in residential buildings in the middle of the street. So these are seen as horrific situation that is this only a 7-day war has caused. There, at least much of the public would be hoping that the government won't respond. So this, they would have to take that into effect as well, into the consideration as well. But they would also have to think about their supporters. They have talked about tens and tens of billions of dollars protecting it, losing hundreds of billions of dollars in sanctions for it. So highest price have been paid, and if they're all destroyed, what do you have to show for it? And that could put pressure on them to respond somehow. But let's remember, the first term of Donald Trump, he attacked and killed a senior Iranian general. The response that came from Iran was missiles shot to a US base in Iraq, and that was the end. So could there be an understanding that Iran uses some missiles to show some reaction, but that doesn't go far enough for US to have to react again? That could also be a possibility. It has been tried. It worked last time. Is the message that they've sent that we don't want regime change? I don't think the regime was particularly worried that America is going to come and change their rule in Tehran, but they most certainly do want to show that they are still have some sort of a deterrence, or would want one, or that they're not going to sit there like a duck and be hit by Israel and US. At the end of the day, two nuclear power countries have attacked. And
Kathmandu, rejoin my colleague Mark Lowen. Mark, I understand that we've had the first reaction now from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. What's he been saying?
I'm actually literally just watching it while we speak, Rajini, because it has just come through to us. But I will give you a little flavor of the, I was halfway through it, but I'll give you the flavor of what he said. He said, "Congratulations, President Trump. This is an awesome and righteous moment." Let me just find that now. He said, "President Trump and I often say peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the US acted with a lot of strength." We understand that President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have already spoken by phone. A senior Israeli official said that the White House gave the Israeli a heads up before the bombing began. There was a small group of Israeli ministers who were huddling from 10 p.m. local time. That's 5 hours before the strikes, before the confirmation of the strikes, and they were sort of watching it all happen overnight. But clearly, there will be delight from the Israeli government, but that something that they have long called for, long craved, long dreamed of in the eyes of Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been talking about this since 1995. He has been taking every public occasion he could to warn of Israel of Iran's imminent nuclear threat. That he has finally got a response and the ear of an American president who has not only kind of allowed or sort of acquiesced in a sense for Israel to go into Iran, but has now sent American bombers themselves into Iran, despite all the queasiness that there is in Donald Trump's political movement, despite all the questions that there are in the Republican base, despite all the worrying echoes that people have constantly pointed out from 2003 when America went into Iraq and toppled Saddam Hussein, when they joined the mission to topple Colonel Gaddafi in Libya, both countries losing their longtime despots and leading to political chaos. President Trump has gone in with a strike on the nuclear facilities that, according to our American partner CBS News, the White House has passed messages to Iran saying that this is not a strike-seeking regime change. It is a strike against the nuclear facilities. But what comes next? How does Tehran respond militarily towards Israel? How does Tehran respond against the American military assets in the region? The US has 40,000 troops stationed in this region. This is a perilous moment for them. And it is a perilous moment in terms of what comes next. Response uprising in Iran. We haven't seen evidence of that yet. It has a military capability. Yes, Iran has been severely weakened. Its defensive shield in this region has been weakened, but it still has bite.
Okay, Mark, do stay with us. I'm going to bring Bahman Kalbasi from the BBC's Persian service, who's been monitoring what we're getting from Iran, into the conversation there. Mark, talking about the position in Israel and saying it kind of depends now on what the Ayatollah and the Iranian government does next. What is some of the conversation that you are seeing in Iran about what might come next?
Really, the only source right now is the state television, and there's one host that's sitting there and talking about the response and what has happened. At some point, he says maybe Donald Trump is bluffing, maybe the damage wasn't so big. And then he also says, but if it's a war that Donald Trump started, it's a war that we will end. We had told the Americans through the Swiss government that is the protector of American interest in Iran, that if you attack, we will respond. All of that is sort of stream of consciousness coming from him. It is far away from what the official response is going to be. We are just awaiting the Iranian Atomic Energy Agency to come up with a statement that could happen any second. I was just looking at my phone, seeing if it's come out yet, or not yet. And so
it's just come in.
That could give us a better sense. I was waiting to see if it had come.
I can just tell you
Okay,
some
there we
of what
go.
it
I can
says.
see
You've
it.
got
So,
it?
yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, I got it. Yeah. And in it, they basically say a violation of NPT and international law, and via Donald Trump's post that this is happening. And then we expect to condemn this, as this is a violation of international law. Their institution is still committed to defending the Iranian or nuclear cycle. So, being the supreme leader who is somewhere leadership, the cost benefit of a response to U.S. forces and the dangers that that might invite, or can they have a response like the one that they had in the last 2020 when Donald Trump assassinated an Iranian general? A series of missiles was thrown and targeted a U.S. military base in Iraq. No American service member was hurt, and that was the end of it. Can such a thing be managed, or will it get out of hand? That's the question that we can get a sense of when they wake up in the morning.
Okay, Bahman Kalbasi, for the moment, thank you very much, but do, of course, stay with us. We are getting more reaction now to the news that America has attacked Iran. A statement coming into us from the United Nations. The UN Secretary General. Let me just read it to you. It says, I'm gravely alarmed by the use of force by the United States. This is a dangerous escalation in a region already on the edge and a direct threat to international peace and security. Mr. Guterres goes on to say there is a growing risk of catastrophic consequences for civilians, the region, and
we know that the president returned to the White House in the 5 o'clock
thing, which was actually always the plan, and even when he took off for, for that trip. And right beforehand, he said time that he was going to follow through with the strikes. But of course, that quickly changed.
Carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime. Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are most difficult of them all. After those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. There's no military in the world that could have done, that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's so.
Day, he said the rights were, quote, completely obliterated. Now, he did that. He hopes that they diplomatic effort by President Trump and his envoys their nuclear. Those did not result in an agreement, though up until today, I am told the U.S. was trying to reach out. Yet, just a few hours ago, we saw these
sure whether that is knowable. This point is how damaging that was.
دارم میزنن. ما چه گناهی کردیم تن بدنمون باید بلرزه؟ من به گازای شهرانو زدم. کردیم تن بدنمون باید بلرزه؟ من به گازای اینطوری دارن میزنن. ما چه گناهی کردیم تن بدنمون باید بلرزه؟ من به گازای شهرانو زدم. ما چه گناهی کردیم تن بدنمون باید بلرزه؟ من به گازای شهرانو زدم. اینطوری دارن میزنن. ما چه گناهی کردیم تن بدنمون باید بلرزه؟
Historic air campaign. Share about tonight's what is historic air campaign. Now, tonight, Iran's nuclear ambitions, they are officially dead. It appears the United States just completely obliterated Iran's top secret Fordow nuclear facility with 6 huge bunker buster bombs. It was originally speculated that you would only need 2. It turns out they used 5 to 6 dropped from America's stealth B-2 bombers. And that's not all. 2 other major Iranian nuclear sites, Natanz and Esfahan, were wiped out with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched by American submarines some 400 miles away. Everyone is out of harm's way for now. That does not mean that American assets in the region are not at risk, and we are monitoring the Iranian response or potential response all throughout the night. We expect the president will be I just spoke to the President of the United States. I have some new information and breaking details to share about tonight's what is historic air campaign. Now, tonight, Iran's nuclear ambitions, they are officially dead. It appears the United States just completely obliterated Iran's top secret Fordow nuclear facility with 6 huge bunker buster bombs. It was originally speculated that you would only need 2 other major Iranian nuclear sites, Natanz and Esfahan, wiped out with 30 Tomahawk missiles launched by American submarines some 400 miles away. Everyone is out of harm's way for now. That does not mean that I'm monitoring the Iranian response or potential response all throughout the night. We expect the president will be
Oo, gemi vuruyorlar. Oo, gemi vuruyorlar.
nuclear enrichment sites, 3 in all, in Isfahan. Told you about. That means 3 B-2 bombers were involved in the strikes tonight because each B-2 bomber, 2 was 50 was likely. Deception was involved. Everyone this morning. Another flight of B-2s flew east, likely 3 of them. When you said 6 bunker busting bombs were dropped, that flight that went east went to the target and annihilated Fordow, as we're hearing, likely destroying Iran's nuclear enrichment program. As you mentioned, for 11 years, President Trump has made clear that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. That was his red line, and tonight he enforced it. You mentioned the 30 Tomahawks fired from the White House after those unprecedented strikes against Iran's nuclear enrichment sites, 3 in all, in Isfahan, Fordow, and Natanz. And strikes tonight because each B-2 bomber can only carry 2 of those 15-ton bunker-busting bombs. So that means 3 B-2 bombers were involved. And as we heard from Jennifer's reporting, it's likely deception was involved. Everyone woke up this morning to chatter about these 6 B-2 bombers flying west over the Pacific, refueling over Hawaii at about 11 p.m. But it's clear now that those were decoys and that another flight of B-2s flew east, likely 3 of them. When you said 6 bunker-busting bombs were dropped, that flight that went east went to the target and annihilated Fordow, as we're hearing, likely destroying Iran's nuclear enrichment program. As you mentioned, for 11 years, President Trump has made clear that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. That was his red line, and tonight he enforced it. You mentioned the 30 Tomahawks fired from